Hello everyone, I'm delighted to be speaking to you today, and I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I pay my respects to elders of the past and present, as well as any elders from other communities who may be here today. And I would also like to welcome you all to the Australian Wind Energy 2023. And for those of you who've travelled here from interstate or internationally, welcome to Victoria. These events are a wonderful opportunity to connect with colleagues and learn from the industry leaders in this exciting sector. Over the last 9 years, Victoria has established itself as a leader, both nationally and around the world, in the development of renewable energy. Our emissions reduction targets of 75 to 80% by 2035 and net zero by 2045 are the strongest in the country. We've also announced renewable energy targets of 65% by 2030 and 95% renewable electricity by 2035. And we expect offshore and onshore wind to be a major contributor to meeting these targets. And today I'm going to share with you some of the great advances Victoria is making in the wind energy sector, and to explain why our state is so well positioned to be the national leader in onshore and offshore wind over the next decade and beyond. Victoria has many factors that make it the natural home for Australia's wind energy industry. Foremost amongst those are the world-class natural wind resources and attractive investment environment. Thanks to our advanced manufacturing and established supply chains, wind energy investors and developers enjoy many efficiencies. We have a highly skilled workforce with strong engineering and digital technology capabilities. And our infrastructure is world-class, including road and rail networks, great telecommunications infrastructure, and Australia's busiest seaport, which links to fast-growing Asia-Pacific markets. Victoria's viability as a cradle for Australia's wind energy sector is proven in the 37 fully commissioned onshore wind farms that are currently operating around the state, including the government-supported Balgana, Berrybank, Dundonnell and Kayada projects. That's more than 4,000 megawatts of capacity available to Victoria's grid from wind farms. 6 more are in commissioning or under construction, and a further 7 have been approved for development. Wind was the biggest contributor to renewable electricity generation in Victoria in 2022, providing more than 18% of our power. Half of Victoria's renewable electricity over this period came from wind. That's a total of 10,000 gigawatt hours. And during the 2021-22 financial year, wind farm projects in development are estimated to have generated more than $500 million in capital expenditure and 455 jobs. Earlier this year, work began on stage 1 of the 1,300 megawatt Golden Plains wind farm near Rosewood, which, when all stages are complete, will be the largest in Australia and one of the largest land-based wind projects in the Southern Hemisphere. While the contribution of onshore wind farms to our renewable energy transition is huge and will continue to grow, offshore wind will play an even more important role in the medium to longer term. We've established targets of at least 2 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity by 2032, 4 gigawatts by 2035 and 9 gigawatts by 2040. We're releasing a series of offshore wind energy implementation statements to support and guide industry and the Victorian community on the development of the offshore wind energy sector. The Offshore Wind Energy Implementation Statement number 2, which I released in March of this year, highlights the industry-led approach we're taking to delivering the first tranche of offshore wind power, with key announcements on procurement, transmission and ports. Implementation Statement 2 announced the Port of Hastings as the preferred location for the Victorian Renewable Energy Terminal, subject to environmental and planning approvals, and proposed the development of an optimal procurement and support package. Implementation Statement 3, to be released later this year, will include further detail on the offshore wind procurement process and an update on the Energy Workforce Development Plan. In December last year, the Commonwealth Government declared an area in Bass Strait off the Gippsland coast as Australia's first offshore wind zone and invited developers to apply for feasibility licences. These are currently being assessed by the Commonwealth Government, with the successful applicants to be announced later this year. And last month, I joined with Federal Climate Change and Energy Minister Chris Bowen as he announced the 60-day consultation process for the proposed offshore wind area in the Southern Ocean off Portland. The Commonwealth's consultation closes on the 31st of August, and Offshore Wind Energy Victoria will assist the Portland community through the consultation process. On the development of new transmission, the Victorian Government through VicGrid will provide coordinated connection points near the Gippsland coast and Portland, which will provide access to the grid. Earlier this year, VicGrid released the Offshore Wind Transmission Development and Engagement Roadmap, and started a 4-phase process of planned, respectful public engagement with communities, landholders and other stakeholders, and meaningful partnerships with traditional owners across Gippsland and Portland to share information and ensure local values and concerns are actively considered. With abundant wind resources to harness, sophisticated supply chain capabilities, strong economic credentials and the right policy settings, Victoria is the natural home for Australia's wind energy industry. Our onshore wind sector is thriving, with a pipeline of projects that will have the capacity to bring power to every Victorian household. And through the establishment of Offshore Wind Energy Victoria, the creation of Australia's first offshore wind assembly port, and the start of consultation on our proposed second offshore wind area, we are paving the way for Australia's first offshore wind farms. I invite you to join us on this journey, so together we can drive generational change to a modern energy system with wind energy as its cornerstone. Thank you.